In this episode, I'll be going over 3 simple tips that are going to have your ideal customers or clients coming directly to you. You've got a dream to glorify God and make your mark on the world. Maybe you want to grow a business, start a ministry, or become a better servant leader. Whichever level in life you want to hit, I believe that God's calling all of us towards something greater than where we are now. So join me as I document my journey to learn how to grow an online ministry in ways that are effective, biblical, and aren't stuffed with complicated religious or business mumbo-jumbo. My name is Alec Kassan, and welcome to the Digital Ministry Mastermind Podcast. Hey, what is going on, current Christian family? It is Alec here. I just want to say that this is the 30th episode. And for the most part, I've been uploading an episode once a week. I think I missed like a couple weeks here or there. But in general, this means this podcast has been going live for about like 30 weeks now. Wow. Or a little bit more than 30 weeks. And it's just amazing because I know there's been some of you who have just hopped on and have been listening to the content here. And there's some of you who have been here since the very beginning, since the first episode. And if you want to, go back to those first episodes and kind of hear those podcasts, you can. It's not my best work. I mean, it's still some good stuff. I just feel like I've gotten a little bit more comfortable talking with you guys now since it's been about 30 weeks of doing episodes. But anyway, this episode is going to be a little bit short because the goal for this is I don't want you to just listen to this episode and be like, oh, Alec, those are some really good tips. No, I don't want that. I mean, I do want that, but what I really want is for you to listen to this and then actually take action on it. So we're going to go right into the thick of things. We're going to cut straight to the meat and potatoes. And if you're vegan, we're going to go straight to the potatoes. But what you're about to listen to in this podcast, it's stuff that's going to be sounding like deceptively easy. But it doesn't matter if it's easy to do or if it's hard to do. The fact is, you got to actually do it. Because it's kind of like that story in the Bible. I had to look this up real quick, but in 2 Kings chapter 5, there's this guy, Naaman, who had leprosy, and he went to Elijah. And, Elijah is this big prophet. People are hearing about him all over the world, or at least in that region of the world. And this guy, very powerful dude, Naaman, hears about this prophet, and he's like, I got to go to see him so he can heal me of my leprosy. And he's going on this huge trek. He's bringing all these people and all this gold with him. And he gets there, and from what I remember, Elijah didn't even answer the door. He had one of his house guys go over and answer the door for him. And he's like, yo, Elijah, there's a guy's here. He's got leprosy. He wants you to heal him. And Elijah's like, yeah, just tell him that there's a river out back. Just tell him to go in there a couple times. Tell him to go in there 3 times. So then the house guy is like, yeah, Elijah said to go in that river 3 times or something. And this Naaman dude, he's expecting whoa, it's this prophet. He should be coming out here and telling the sky to hit me with a bolt of lightning and then it'll heal me of my I'm here expecting a spectacle. And he just wants me to go into this little creek 3 times. He's like, I've got some better creeks in my own hometown area. Why can't I just dip in there? And, he's fuming and he runs along. But then Naaman's servant comes up to him and he's like, dude, if Elijah told you to climb the highest mountain and do all these crazy difficult things, and if he said that was going to heal your leprosy, you would have done it in a heartbeat. But here he is telling you to do this simple thing and you're saying you're not going to do it? And then Naaman's like, you know what? You're right. All right. Who cares? I came all this way. I'm going to do it anyway. I'm going to do it. So he goes into this little creek, goes in 3 times, comes out, and he's healed of leprosy. So anyway, the meaning of that story is that you're going to be hearing this stuff and it's going to come across as kind of simple, but it's like I said, deceptively simple. And it doesn't matter if it's easy or hard to do. What matters is if you actually do it. So anyway, let's go right into this. So as you might know, I went to college to study physical therapy. I wanted to be a physical therapist. And in my years of learning, I had picked up on some of the best knowledge for how to get into shape. And, a lot of my friends, they knew that I knew this knowledge and they wanted to know what I had to say about how they can get in shape the fastest. And the number one factor for being in shape, for the most part, is diet, So, don't worry, this episode's not going to be about dieting, but just bear with me a minute so I can share this next story. And I know it's a lot of stories, but trust me, it's really building up to some great stuff. So a few times I've been approached by my friends even various family members, and they would ask me like what to do to get in shape. And I'd tell them, first you got to focus on your diet. And then they would then ask me like, okay, well, what should I eat? And I would tell them to not worry about the food, not just yet. What they should focus on first is water. If they want to get into shape, they need to cut out every and any type of liquid in their diet that isn't water. I don't care if it's juice. I don't care if it's milk or beer. If it's a liquid and it's not water, don't drink it. You have to only be drinking water. And after I'd say that, they'd be like, okay, cool. What's next? And to their surprise, I wouldn't tell them what's next. I'd tell them you got to do that first. And they're like, but dude, that's so okay, I can do that. It's easy. Tell me what's next. And I'm like, no. Do that first. Then you can come back to me. Because 9 times out of 10, they wouldn't even do the first thing, because the advice was so simple, but it's like so imperative and crucial to improving their health, but like they just didn't do it. Although I'm about to like share, some of the things that might sound simple, I'm reiterating, I'm repeating again that it's simple, but it's crucial for growth. So if you want to see results, don't just listen, you got to actually do it. Now, finally, here is the advice. Let's get into it. I know you're excited. Those stories really built up a lot of hype. So there are actually 3 tasks, as you knew by the title, that you should accomplish, which will help to position your ministry, your brand, your YouTube channel, your Twitter account, whatever it is. It's going to help you position it in front of your ideal customers, your ideal audience. Now, the first thing is you got to interact with those who interact with the mid-level or top influential people in your industry. Now, what do I mean by this? So let's say if your content or message is similar to influential people who are like yourself, then those who like them will also like you too. So you got to interact with those who comment on influencers' posts. Most likely those influencers are too busy to reply to every single comment on their own posts. And I'm sure you've got a little bit more time than they do. So you can help answer comments for them. And the thing that's really cool, this is like a double benefit. When you're replying to someone's comment, you're coming up in that person's notifications, which means they are seeing you and they're seeing your brand. Plus, interacting with enough people over time, that influencer is getting notifications as well. And they will see those notifications and they will see that you're interacting with people in their community. And that means they'll begin to recognize you and grow familiar with who you are. So interact. The first thing is you got to interact with people who are interacting with the top influencers in your industry. I know it sounds a little bit confusing, but interact with the content that people are interacting with for people who are influential in your industry. Now, the second thing, you should try your hardest to be a guest on shows that are related to your industry, that are either at the same level of social media following as you or slightly higher. Obviously, slightly higher will be better because that's more bigger reach. So, when you guest speak on shows like podcasts or even YouTube channels, you got to make sure it's a platform that you're already posting on. So, for example, if you host a podcast, then try to speak on podcasts so you can be speaking directly with people who are engaging with podcasts. Because if you don't have a podcast and you're speaking on a podcast, the people who are consuming that content are people who are engaging with podcasts, So it'd be like going on someone's Instagram account, doing a couple posts on Instagram, but you don't have an Instagram account for yourself. Like, people who are viewing content on a platform are more likely to view your content if it is on that platform as well. So, keep that in mind, because chances are if someone's, sticking with the podcast example, chances are if someone's listening to a podcast that you're guest speaking on, then they're already a fan of podcasts and therefore they'll be a fan of your podcast. Same is true for something like YouTube. If you have a YouTube channel, appear as a guest on another person's YouTube channel, so you can speak directly to people who are watching YouTube videos. Because again, chances are people watching that video are going to also watch your videos as well. So to reiterate, step 2 is you got to try your hardest to be a guest on shows that are not only related to your industry, but are also on the same platforms that you are creating content on. Now, the third and final tip is you got to freely give value in groups and on various social media platforms. And, this can apply to the previous suggestion, but, by freely giving value, you're giving people something before you're asking anything from them in return. So this makes it much easier for people to want to follow you, since you're helping them before they even know who you are. Plus, when people see that you're knowledgeable in your industry, it's easier for them to trust you because you're already exemplifying your expertise in what you're doing. So commenting on people's posts, giving advice in Facebook groups, seeking out people who are asking questions so you can share your answers. This is just not only helping you be a better expert in your field, but it's showing others that you know what you're talking about. And I'm not going to lie, this podcast is an example of that. The whole thing, the intro of this podcast is talking about how these episodes are based on things that I'm practicing in my own ministry. This is one of them. I'm creating these podcast episodes because I do want to show people hey, I know what I'm talking about. I mean, I didn't go to seminary school, or I don't have a communications degree or whatever. As you know, I went to school to be a physical therapist, but I'm doing this stuff to show that it doesn't mean I'm not capable of providing value in the field of ministry or Christ-centered businesses, So I want to challenge you to do at least one of these 3 tasks every day for a week. And now that's a hard thing to do, but I want to challenge you to do it. It's going to be fun. It's just 7 days. Try it out. 7 days. You could be, if you want to try doing the thing where you're guest speaking on podcasts, find Christian podcast groups on Facebook and just interact and be hey, I'm really looking to speak on some podcasts. Does anyone want a guest to speak on there? And then also point out why you'd be a good host. What content do you want to give? What kind of value do you want to give to people? And another thing, go on social media, who's an influencer that you follow that inspires you? Go on their posts, look at their comments, and comment on people's comments. So I want to wrap up by just reminding you again of that story of Naaman. Naaman wanted to see some sort of crazy spectacle in order to be cleansed of his leprosy. However, he was given a simple task. And had he not done that simple task, he wouldn't have gotten the results that he wanted. So remember, these tasks sound fairly simple and easy because they are, but the results don't come from the simplicity or complexity of the thing that you're doing. The results come from actually doing it. So, hey, I just want to remind you that God is calling all of us towards something greater than where we are now. And I also want to thank you so much for listening to this 30th episode. I'm so happy that you're here and you've been following me on this journey. And I want to hear more about your journeys as well. Follow me on Facebook, Instagram, all those things. I've got links that you can click on. Just look up The Current Christian. It'll pop up. And you follow me, I'll follow you back. I want to see how you guys are doing and hear how this content is helping you grow your ministry and your life to be more fruitful. And hey, if there was content in this episode that you found was inspiring or insightful, then I want to ask that you please show your support by subscribing. And if there's any content in here that you know is going to benefit someone else, or if there's any prior episodes that's going to help people who then please, I invite you to share this episode or any prior episodes with people in your inner circle. So thank you so much again for listening, and I'll see you in our next episode. Are you a Christian leader looking to develop the skills needed to maximize the fruitfulness in your daily walk with Christ? Do you want to overcome the burden of not living life to the fullest and fully step into your God-given calling? If you do, then you should get a copy of my book, Planting Your Purpose, a 20-day guide to discover God's calling. It's not just another devotional book. Planting Your Purpose is your 20-day guide that will provide you with the strategies, tools, and insights to turn things around immediately. You will learn how to avoid the top 5 mistakes Christians make when pursuing their calling in life. You'll develop more joy in your walk with Jesus and unlock the secrets to mastering integrity. And by the end of 20 days, not only will you know your calling, but you'll have an even greater sense of fulfillment and confidence in your life. Everywhere, Christians are raving about this amazing new guide to discover their God-given calling. Get your copy by clicking the link in the show notes or by going to plantingyourpurpose.com. That's plantingyourpurpose.com.